Welcome to another edition of 15241 Today Talk, subtitle Jim and Lanny on stage, and we're on the boys middle school stage today. And our special guest, the Duke of Blawnox, ladies and gentlemen, from Blawnox and a graduate of Fox Chapel High School, 40 years a pro at St. Clair Country Club, 37 years as the head professional at St. Clair. Phil, it's great to have you with us. Folks, you need to know that when I came to Pittsburgh in 1976, the first couple that Liz and I met, Phil and Pat Newcamp, we lived in the complex over by Al's Cafe. Thank you for joining us, Phil.
My pleasure.
Jim, you recently had an opportunity to play in my golf tournament, supporting Family Links, and part of the foursome included Phil's grandson, Connor.
That was a phenomenal experience for me. To watch Connor, he's going to be in the 7th grade, and he's going to be an excellent golfer. And as a coach, I know that his grandfather did a phenomenal job teaching and coaching him. To Connor's credit, he's a polite, humble young man that listens. And Phil, I'm sure you would like, as a grandfather, you'd like to expound a little bit about that. But trust me, you have done a great job of mentoring him.
He comes over every day and we practice or play, and now his little brother, who's 8 years old, Colin, is doing the same. And they both play it's called the Southwestern Pennsylvania Junior Tour. And in their age category, they're both doing really, really well. And that's all I can ask for. I just want them to love the game, and so far it's working.
What's the challenge for you teaching and mentoring your grandchildren?
Well, the biggest challenge is if a swing doesn't go right, they want to know right away what's wrong, and they think that you can cure a shot in one swing. You know, it's not that easy. We just have to keep working on it. So they want results right away, and that's the toughest part.
You and Pat raised 3 children.
Correct.
And so your 2 grandsons are?
Kristen, our oldest daughter.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Phil, how was it that you fell in love with the game and decided that you could become a golf professional?
Well, I started caddying at Fox Chapel Golf Club, but my second year there, working on the driving range made a lot more money. And so they asked me to work on the range, and I don't know if you're familiar with the range at Fox Chapel, but it's not very big. And when there was a lull in the action, I'd hit balls, but I'd always walk around the edges on 8 and 16 and hit balls back towards the flags on the driving range. So I got hooked on golf pretty early, and then made it my career. I just was lucky. I was in the right place at the right time a couple of different times.
What is it about, and I mentioned this to you at my golf tournament, you deserve a tremendous amount of credit. St. Clair Country Club is an outstanding country club, and you've put down a pretty sizable mark, the job that you did there.
You know, you see that quote that if you love what you're doing, it's not work. Well, I loved what I was doing every day. It never bothered me. I used to tease people I worked half days, 7 to 7, you know, and I enjoyed what I did. And they were always good to my family, so that's pretty lucky guy.
And lived right there on the golf course?
Yeah, my commute was 3/10 of a mile.
You were talking earlier, Jim, about how you think that your career and Phil's career, they paralleled each other.
Well, first of all, the length of our jobs was about the same, and it was pretty close to the same years. Mm-hmm. And the other thing that I'll let Phil expound maybe a little bit, but I think his job, he had to serve the members, the clientele, and my job was a little bit the same way. You know, parents get involved, and I had to serve them, so to speak.
Right.
You had to mentor the kids, and And Phil, I'm sure, had similar experiences where you were trying to mentor or teach, coach, and serve the public.
Right.
So I don't mean to speak for you. So
No, there were quite a few times, whether it was I was teaching a wife or a son or a daughter, and a parent or the husband would say, well, wait a minute. And I said, trying to help me with my lesson, and I'd have to tell them to step back a little bit. This is my show, So, and the same way with the kids, I would let them listen to the lesson, but I wouldn't let them add to the lesson. And I would tell them things to look out for, but I wouldn't let them give the lesson. That was my job.
same as mine.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been interesting, and we're both looking back fondly, I guess,
Yeah.
at this point.
Well, you wonder where the time went, but I am trying to write a book, and it's I'm slow going, but I'm going to get it done one of these days. And
What's going to be the essence of the book?
well, my first quote is, "I solved imaginary problems for wealthy people." Like the greens are too slow, they're too fast, the rough's too high, it's too wet, it's too dry. I mean, my French fries didn't come down with my hamburger. So it was kind of funny when I regret not keeping a diary of some of the things that happen on a daily basis, but I'm trying to remember them and write them down.
Is there one thing that's a key for you when you're teaching, say, a high handicap golfer?
I try to get them to understand what direction the club should swing on the backswing and on the follow through. That's I keep pounding that into them during the lesson, and that's just the way I teach. I try to let them look the correct way. Sometimes it's not that easy, but when people try and you're trying, it'll work out.
You still like to compete, Phil?
I play in the winter. In January down in Port St. Lucie, they have age group categories, so I'm over 70, so I can play against those guys, but I can't play against the guys that are just 50. But I did play in a lot of tournaments in my time.
And won the 1987 West Penn Open. Tell us about
Correct.
that.
It was at Rolling Hills, which is now no longer there, but it's kind of funny. I bogeyed the first two holes, and then the next 34 holes I played an 11 under par, which was terrific for me. And everybody that could play then was there. I mean, it was a good field. Bob Ford, John Reck, Roy Vicinage, and to beat all those guys was kind of fun.
How close a match was it, or how it got down to the final holes?
I think I won by 2 shots, but but there weren't any leaderboards, so you don't know what you're doing. I was in the third to the last group, but it worked out.
What were you thinking when you finally realized that you had won the tournament?
Well, if you look at the West Penn Open trophy, there's like 5 U.S. Open winners on that trophy. And now my name's on a trophy that's almost 100 years old and with a lot of really terrific players.
Jim asked you about competing. What's the biggest challenge for whether it be your grandchildren or anybody that's involved in golf competition?
Well, it's keeping your nerves under control. It's okay to be nervous, but you can't be so nervous that you can't think about shots, And I think as you get accustomed to playing under pressure, your nerves, they're still there, but it doesn't bother your thinking as much. And that's, in golf, you got to think about where you want to place the ball, and that's the hard part, So I try to get our grandson Connor gets a little bit too nervous at times, and we're working on that.
He wasn't nervous the day I saw him. Of course, he was playing against me, so why get nervous?
Is there truly a zone that athletes?
Oh, I think it's. I think if you're prepared, above all things, I mean, if you're prepared and you're ready to go, I don't think little things bother you. I mean, like you just need a break. You know, sometimes you get an unlucky bounce, but being prepared is the biggest thing, I think. And
Well, what do you mean when you say being prepared? What?
well, I mean, like we practice all the time, hit all the shots, and when you go to a tournament, you feel like you're ready to play any of the shots, and just go play, rather than worry about where the club should be or different swing thoughts. I don't believe in those when you're playing. I just think that you should see the shot and go get it, and go hit it.
You put your grandsons in tough situations, high grass,
Yeah,
near a tree or whatever. Do you
we
that?
practice hitting different types of shots. You know, high shots, low shots, kind of medium shots, hooks and slices.
Did you watch? Speaking of competition and being prepared, the recent British Open,
Yes.
for that young man to do what he did on his home country,
Yeah.
what'd you think?
Well, you know, that's a lot of pressure, more pressure than that I've ever known. But he was ready. You know what I mean? He didn't.
was.
He hit the shots when they counted, and didn't panic. You know, some guys panic.
Yeah.
And I was impressed by how much Shane Lowry seemed to be enjoying the
Yeah.
whole experience.
He probably was and wasn't. You know what I mean? Like he didn't want to get too far ahead. Like, here I am, I'm the 2019 Open champion, because for the European players, that's the biggest tournament there is. And so I'm sure he was enjoying each hole after it was over. But during that hole, you know, there's a lot of stress. And the upcoming holes. I mean, you saw the grass there. You're one swing away from an X over there, you know.
What's the greatest aspect about being a golf professional?
Working with the people, you know, just. And when I get tired of the people, I could hop on a golf cart and go take a ride. And so it was the people, you know. It was kind of funny because there were a lot of corporate executives there, and when I would call and say, hello, is Mr. So-and-so there? Oh, no, he's not here. Can I take a message? And I'd say, it's Phil Newcamp. Oh, he just walked in. I mean, so they always had time for me because it was something pertaining to golf.
Shows a tremendous amount of respect for you.
Yeah, well, I guess so, but I know they thought something was going on with golf, so.
Is being a father and grandfather and being a golf professional more similar or dissimilar?
Being a father and a grandfather. Well, my grandsons, they listen a little better than my kids did growing up, so that was a big thing. But all of our kids, Phil and Kristen and Katie, they all became good players, you know. So, and if they pick up, they don't play much now, but if they pick up a club, you can see their swing, and they could probably shoot a pretty good score.
When you play at St. Clair, and now you have a lot more chances to play, correct?
I do, yes.
What makes it such a spectacular golf course?
Well, it's just fun to play every day. I mean, it's in terrific condition all the time, but it's not a killer course. I mean, you can recover from some of your poor shots, but and if you hit good shots, you get rewarded. That's not always the case at some courses. I love playing there every day, though.
what the club? What role does it have as being a part of the Upper St. Clair community? Granted that not all members are that live in Upper St. Clair.
Well, it's a focal point. I mean, right now we in 2011 we went through a membership drive, and we have a lot of younger members now than we did, a lot more than we did in the past. And it seems like every new family that comes in has 2 or 3 or 4 children. So the families are really getting involved at the club, whether it be swimming or golf, you know.
How beneficial was it for your 3 children to go through the Upper St. Clair School District?
That was great. I mean, and for us, it was kind of neat. They caught their bus at Millgrove when my wife didn't drive them, and they got off right at the entrance of the club, and they would walk past the golf shop, and everybody, you know, they'd always stop in after school, which was really great.
It is tremendous that you live so close and have that experience.
Well, for the longest time, they thought I owned the place, so.
I thought that. How about Bob Prince? Do you have any Bob Prince stories?
He was the best. He was such a generous guy. You know, I can remember one time when he was with Houston, he was at the club, and he, at the time he took a golf cart, but there were 10 caddies waiting to get out, and he walked over and gave them all a $5 bill. He said, "Look, I normally take a caddy, but I can't do that anymore, so I'm riding, but hope this helps you out." But that's the kind of guy he was, you know, just a generous guy.
How about Chuck Knoll? Did he play?
Yeah, he was, he practiced more than he played, and one day I was given a lesson, and my back was to him, and I heard this, whack, whack. I turned around, I thought it was a little kid hitting golf balls, and I said, "Mr. Noah, what are you doing?" He says, "I'm trying to exhale on the downswing, see if I can get some extra yardage." But he was intense about his golf.
I believe that.
Yeah.
You have a favorite hole on the club, in the course?
I like looking down number 3, you know, with the 2 lakes. But I don't know if it's my favorite. It's just the most picturesque. You know, I don't know if I have a favorite.
They changed the course how many years ago?
Well, the original course was built in 1916, and in 1968 they added 18 more holes. They took, of the 18 that they added, they were 9 were on the original course, and they still had the Terrace 9, and the Terrace 9 has 6 of the original 18 from 1916. But 68 was when they started remodeling and building the new course.
But there were some more other renovations.
Well, in
recently.
2007, they redid Keith, oh God, I can't think of his name right now. He came in 2007 and redid everything, the bunkers, the tees, and the fairways. Not so much the greens. He changed a couple of them, but that was a big renovation, and that was Keith Foster was his name, I'm sorry. But but he went over, he made a change on all 18 holes, whether it was big or small. Each hole he did something different, but mostly the bunkers.
Did you agree with most of what he did?
I agree with some, but I'm not a fan of the grass around the bunkers. You know, it's pretty deep, and it's penal for the average player. It's too hard to play out of. It's too hard to play out of for anybody, really.
What is it about golf that makes it such a great game?
You never know what you're going to get. Some days you feel great and hit it awful, and some days you don't feel so great and play well. You know, and every day's different. The wind blows, it doesn't blow, the ground's wet, the ground's hard. You make putts, you don't make putts.
When you were playing in this foursome with Jim, who else was with the group? Ken Biggerstaff was with your group, right? Mark Ferracco?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Did you offer some advice to Jim about his golf game?
No, I didn't. I don't like to do it while they're out playing, but a couple
You
years
should,
ago,
in my
a couple
case.
years ago we did. Remember out there? Yeah. But I don't like to do it when we're playing. I might do it on the last hole, and because I don't want them to be thinking about swings when they're out there playing.
See, I'm just the opposite. I think he should coach me well. I got him there.
Yeah.
Do you love the game, Jim?
I'm a feast or famine golfer. Sometimes I hit some pretty good shots.
Yeah.
And other times, I really stink. I missed the ball right in front of Phil the other day, which, was embarrassing. Do I love it? Probably not as much as you two. I get as big a kick out of making a great shot as anybody else. But then there's other days I think, why am I here?
Yeah, I love the game. It is just a fabulous game.
Well, I think one of the unique things is if you've played a course that's on TV and you see a professional about ready to hit a shot pretty close to where you were, or you played that hole and they either hit a good shot or a bad shot, and you can relate to it and say, I hit a better shot on that hole than he did, but of course he's playing for $1 million and
Every now and then I do think I see somebody not doing real well on television. I'm thinking I could do that. I think Tiger hit one 20 feet the other day or something.
yeah. Well, in that high grass over there, it's easy to
I probably
double
could have
shot.
gone 18.
Phil, in all the years that I've played golf, I've been somewhat amazed by the number of guys that go out and spend a lot of time trying to read greens.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure that they can.
Well, it's most greens, if you think about it, are built to accept a shot, so it's a little higher in the back than it is in the front. So all the putts that you have are going to break towards the fairway. If you're to the pin high right, it's going to break down to the left towards the fairway. If you're pin high left, it's going to break right down to the fairway. And if you're looking at the fairway, it's downhill. You got to take it easy. But I'm trying to make it simple, and sometimes it's harder to read. But the faster the greens, the more break you play. But just look where the fairway is, and that'll help you.
I don't have a very extensive bucket list, but I'd love to play Augusta someday. You ever play it?
No, I've been there for the tournament a few times, but that would be a treat to play there. When the first time I ever walked there, it's hillier than any course in Pittsburgh.
Really?
Which you don't realize until you get there. But the first day I ever went to the tournament, I was walking around. I was looking for a flaw, and I couldn't find any. It was in perfect shape.
Can I ask this is a rookie question. I want to know why a baseball player, professional baseball player, puts gloves on to hit a 90-mile-an-hour fastball, and golfers take their gloves off to hit to putt a still ball.
Well, I did that because Arnold Palmer did it, but a lot of them feel like they have a better feel with the glove off on the short shot. A lot of them will take them off just to hit shots around the green too. But
I never take my glove off.
Jack Nicklaus never did.
You're right, he never did.
He putted with it on.
Yeah.
Good Ohio boy.
I mentioned Augusta. Is there a course that you've never played in addition to Augusta that you'd love to play?
I can't think of one right now, but I played Pebble Beach about 4 years ago, and that was a real treat.
How tough?
Oh, I don't. It's not that hard. You know, the wind wasn't blowing, and we didn't play all the way back. So, but it's really not that hard. It's just the setting is fantastic. You know, the views that you have right on the ocean.
Have you been overseas to Europe to play?
No, I'm a little claustrophobic in an airplane, so I never had a desire to go over.
Nor do I.
Yeah, you know, just flying would bother me because I'm not at the controls.
So you're a control freak.
Yeah.
I guess that's one of the other things that I love about the game is that you don't. I'm a member of Chartiers, and I love playing that golf course.
Right.
You know, it fits my game pretty well, I think. Yeah, I can play whatever tees I want to play,
Yeah.
just to suit my game.
See, I really think that whatever club you belong to or whatever course you play, that's your Augusta. I mean, you're proud to be there, and it's fun to play, and so I never ever said anything bad about any golf course, because I felt like, you know, somebody's a member there or somebody plays there, and that they're proud to be there, and I don't think it's fair to pick on a golf hole or a green or something like that.
That's a great line.
It is.
Everybody's home
It is.
course is
Their
their Augusta.
Augusta.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tremendous. How much teaching you still do?
I only teach my two grandsons, although this afternoon I saw Pat wants to go hit some, and she hasn't played in a year and a half, so she's gonna hit some this afternoon.
Yeah, it was great. You and Pat were with us for the dinner at the golf tournament. Great to see her, and she's had some challenges too, hasn't she?
Yeah, we're getting through them. By December, things should be good.
We're all praying for her.
Yeah, thanks.
And we really appreciate you being a part of our show.
My pleasure.
It's most appropriate we had you on the show because of all the great things you've done in this community, and as I said earlier, put your print on that St. Clair Country Club. Congratulations.
Yes. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And the next time you're in my company on a golf course, correct me.
Phil Newcamp, pro at St. Clair for 40 years, head professional for 37 years on 15241 Today Talk. Again, our thanks to Linda Dunzinski, our coordinating producer, and our producer and director, Glenn Ward.